Hello my fellow Earthlings! Today we're going to take a look at the Grandia series. This is Grandia 1 from the Grandia HD collection. In this collection, for both games there is a Platinum Trophy, so we're going to get the Platinum Trophy for the first game. Now, Grandia is kinda like an action RPG, but I'm going to go into the battle mechanics as we unlock the story trophies. Now, unlike in most RPGs where there is a looming threat on the horizon, here Justin just wants to find the legendary city of Alvent. And there is even a giant wall separating him from that dream, which is the end of the world. But we are going to see how the journey turns out in a bit. So just strap in and enjoy this grand journey.
Justin, you okay?
There is some voice acting in this game. I wouldn't say it is the best. It is that early 90s voice acting, and in the beginning you get a trophy for pretty much just progressing the story for Sue joining your party, who is your little sister. Well, as far as I know, Justin and her are not really related, so she's more like a little sister type of character, if that makes sense, and getting the Spirit Stone. And after you picked up the letter from an NPC, that will be important for later quests, because in the beginning there are a lot of missable trophies in the game. Entering the first battle and winning it gives you a trophy, but I want to go into the battle mechanics just a bit. As you see in the lower right corner, there is like a page that fills up slowly or moves slowly, and as soon as it reaches the command bar, you're able to command your characters. Now, some abilities like the critical hit is able to hit the enemy away back on this board, or whatever you want to call it, and you are able to prevent them from attacking, at least for a bit. That is the most important mechanic of the game, that you knock enemies back on this command board, or whatever ATB gauge, you can call it like that as well. But there is some time that the character needs to run to the enemy and hit them, so you can interrupt the enemies when they run, or you can get interrupted as well. You get an easy trophy for leveling up the first time. You're supposed to do this before you enter the next dungeon with the train. You're supposed to compliment your mom 3 different times. The dialogue does change in this game when you talk to the NPCs, so if you talk to an NPC multiple times, you get different dialogue options, so I guess that's what this is supposed to teach you. There are weapon levels and spell levels in the game as well, so the more you use a weapon or a magic, the stronger abilities you are going to unlock. Kinda similar as in Final Fantasy II, except there is no gimmick here where you can hit yourself and get more HP. You're supposed to hit the enemy and unlock a stronger sword skill, or a stronger knife skill, or a stronger fire skill. Now, in the first boss you're not able to do a whole lot. You are able to pick up a few bombs to make this fight easier, but even without the bombs the fight can be taken down relatively fast with the critical hit gimmick, that you hit the enemy back in that bar, ATB bar. You can take this boss down very easily. Now, the game has no minigames. There is this one minigame on the ship where you clean the ship and you're supposed to get a pretty decent score, like I did. I'm not even sure how to explain this. You are supposed to hit the action bar or X or whatever, that the bar is not completely filled up, so you can run faster and clean up this mess or whatever it is. If you do this well enough, you unlock this trophy. Now eventually a ghost ship is going to appear what you're supposed to board, and there is a very strong boss, or the first challenging boss in the game, that has multiple hit bars, like 2 tentacle hands and a big head that you can hit. So yeah, you're supposed to either destroy the main body as fast as possible or the hands, but other than that the boss isn't too special. It does give you the first mana egg. You're supposed to collect them all. There are, in some dungeons there are 2, in some dungeons there is only 1. There is a guide on psntrophies.com, so if you follow that you can get these trophies easily, but you have to keep in mind that you will miss some mana eggs if you don't collect them right away, because the game is very linear and you lock previous areas off if you progress too far. Now before you leave the ship, make sure to talk to this NPC, because outside there is a barrel waiting for you. What if you talk to gives you a trophy for whatever reason. In New Pawn we can deliver this letter that we picked up in Pawn, so yeah, normally you wouldn't be able to do this if you haven't picked up the letter from the NPC, but yeah, other than that this is an easy trophy to get. There is an easy trophy unlocked for winning 50 battles. On the way, as I said, I collect all the mana eggs I can. You should use the mana eggs as soon as possible to unlock magic for your characters, because the more you use the magic, the more powerful abilities you'll be able to unlock. The next story trophy doesn't pop for a while. This is for Fina accepting you as an adventurer. She becomes our permanent party member pretty much, and she's a huge help in the next dungeon where we fight this shell guy. I don't have any magic yet, I didn't use any magic yet, so I just use my physical attacks and critical hits to knock him back on the ATB gauge, so I am able to beat this boss relatively easily. Now eventually you do get captured and you are supposed to fight these 3 female generals to advance the story. This is the first big difficulty spike where I got my ass kicked a lot, but yeah, I was able to beat the first 2 without magic, just by abusing the save feature thingy. But wherever you can save, you can recover your MP, HP and SP. The other thing that happens is that any enemies that you defeat will stay gone as long as you don't restart the game or reload the game or whatever. So you can slowly make progress by beating an enemy, running back, recovering, beating an enemy, running back, recovering. So yeah, that's how I slowly wiggled my way out of this dungeon. The last boss I actually beat with my weakest magic spells. This is where I started using magic spells and I was like, okay, they are very overpowered. Even on the level 1 I was able to do some AoE magic where I trapped the general with some of her soldiers, and eventually we jump onto the train and escape. The next trophy is nothing exciting, it is just for defeating 300 monsters. I think this next dungeon doesn't even have a boss, you just need to collect this item, but eventually as you progress the story, you reach the end of the world. And this is where you need to climb this huge wall and cross where no one has crossed before. Now, right behind this wall, after traversing the first dungeon, you fight Godwin. This is not a fight you can win, but after the fight you hang out with him and chat. And this is where another very missable trophy is obtained. The man-to-man promise trophy. This will pop up eventually as you talk to him, so just select it and after you will get this trophy. And you only have one chance to get this, so if you don't have a previous save file to reload, you'll just have to replay the game again up to this point. Now with Godwin in the party, any of the bosses won't be challenging. He's on level 40 or 30 I think, so he'll be able to one-shot pretty much any enemy you encounter, and you can either give him better gear if you want him to hit harder. So yeah, the next few bosses are taken down without any effort.
This'll teach you.
But eventually Sue will get sick and you'll decide to use this one-way teleporter to get her back home, and at this point Godwin leaves the party as well. But you don't really need to worry about that too much. Grandia has an interesting system where if the party member leaves, all the items they have equipped you'll have in your stash or inventory. The other thing I forgot to mention, there is limited inventory space in this game. Every character has like a certain amount of spaces to hold, but there is a big box where everything is kept, where everything you can stash. So there will the items go after a party member leaves the party. And another thing is you get an item. For example, for Godwin you would get a sword experience item that you could use to upgrade, for example, Justin's sword level a bit or help him get to a higher level faster. That includes the magic spells that they learned as well. And for a very long time there isn't really any trophies or collectibles, so you're fine until you encounter Gaia. Turns out the enemy is trying to resurrect Gaia, who is pretty much a mindless beast that turns everything into stone or consumes everything. It's an ancient creature that is not supposed to be disturbed. So yeah, finally we have a main enemy, a final boss that we will face off eventually. But this is just a weakened form of Gaia that we fight here, so we can just destroy the main body of it and destroy it. But you fight this version of him a lot in the game. The game likes to reuse some bosses sometimes for secret bosses or later in the game, but that's not too bad, I guess. This is the final area that you get to explore, the final continent. So there are 3 secret dungeons or endgame dungeons that you can explore. I explored the first one a bit. I tried to beat the boss. I wasn't able to beat it right away, but while exploring this dungeon I killed 1,000 enemies, and that was what I got the trophy for. We beat another version of Gaia just to obtain this horn for an NPC that we need to get his memories back or get him smart again, something like that. I face off against all the generals at once. At this point they weren't a challenge because my magic was very overpowered, so I used magic a lot and I had a lot of AoE attacks that I was able to take these bosses down very easily. I don't get the trophy for that, but after I get a trophy for collecting 250,000 gold. This evil looking general dude that obviously looks like the main final boss guy of the game is the main final boss guy of the game. There is a one-on-one battle with him in this dungeon. You get a trophy on here somewhere after beating him, but after this the game shows off Justin's plot armor. So yeah, that's something that happens a lot in this game. Whenever Justin is in trouble, something just happens and he gets saved by some miracle. This is the point I decide to return to clear out the 2 of the 3 challenging endgame dungeons. The first one ends with this guy that kicks around, turns around and jumps around. He is relatively easy to beat, he just heals a lot after every turn, so you just have to take more damage than he heals to beat him easily. The other one looks more like a necromancer. He's also in an old castle, but yeah, this one at this point was also easy to beat, just focusing on his main body and attacking him a lot. I was able to beat him on my first attempt, so I didn't even need to try more than once. You get some cool rewards from both bosses, but it's time to continue the main story, because we are supposed to be adventurers and find a city that is not supposed to exist or only exists in legends.
That must be a lint! All the answers will be there!
After arriving here, I collect the final Mana Egg 2. This is a dungeon that also reuses some of the previous bosses that you fought, so there aren't really a lot of enemies here. You just fight stronger versions of bosses that you already fought again. But after every boss you're able to go back and recover your HP, SP and MP, so you're fine here. But we get the strongest party member, the strongest spellcaster in our party, who can help us to take down the final challenging dungeon, the Tower of Temptations. This is a very confusing dungeon. I used a guide for this so I don't have to suffer, because it's very confusing. It has a lot of switches. You activate a switch on floor 5 just to advance on floor 7 somewhere and stuff like that. So it is very confusing, and there is only one save point at the very beginning, and at the very end you fight 3 bosses. The first 2 I wouldn't say were really difficult. It's also recommended here that you have a lot of healing items that you can just use and heal the whole party, and SP regenerating items that you can also just spam your most powerful attacks on these 3 bosses at the very end. And the same goes for MP as well. At this point I think I unlocked Justin's strongest ability, so I was able to use it a few times at the beginning of the battle, but the hardest one was this Karkan looking dude that we fought before. He's just harder here because he has AoE attacks and he heals a lot more with his tentacle, and I almost lost this fight, but somehow I pulled through on my first attempt. And after this you get to the top of the Tower of Temptation, where you get the best items, the best gear for everybody, so you are set to go and pretty much destroy the few bosses that are remaining in the game.
Come, look! This is the form of your new god!
At this point I wasn't even overpowered. It is recommended that to grind up all your characters' finishing moves for these dungeons, but I only had Justin's finishing move, and that was more than enough, and this new character magic was more than enough to the final bosses that were remaining. One was guarding the spirit sword that we need, because it turns out Fina would need to sacrifice herself to destroy Gaia, so that's not something we want, so we just pick up this sword. Somehow spirits just lead us here. Nobody even knew that this sword existed. There is this tree-looking dude that we need to fight next, who is no challenge at all, even if he has multiple parts that he uses AoE attacks with. It is not a big deal at all. And finally we get to the final boss. It has 3 phases. Phase 1 is very annoying because he uses a lot of AoE attacks and he can wipe out your party very easily if you don't pay attention. I use the revive rings here. I was able to survive this fight and just damage through and slowly destroy all of its parts, and keep spamming my MP healing items so I can just spam my strongest magic, and the same goes for SP2. You don't fight phase 2 right away. There is a stash point or whatever point where you can pick up some items, so I was able to pick up revive ring for Fina because she died in the previous fight. And this phase 2 is absolutely crazy because there are like three parts of his body to spawn more tentacles that hit you and do more AoE attacks. The main body does AoE attacks. There was a point here where my whole party got wiped out, so if I didn't have the revive rings, it would have been just game over, and there wasn't really anything I could have done about saving my party here beyond using the revive rings. But somehow I was able to turn the tides of battle around with some AoE magic and some AoE attacks. I was able to slowly destroy all of its parts. If you're able to destroy this boss, the last fight is Pretty much a joke, it's just a HP sponge that you hit a lot. Can't even do any damage, it just has the weakest magic spells, and you can take this boss down in a few turns if you have any SP left. Even if you don't, you just hit him with normal attacks and he will go down very fast.
We won, guys!
And yeah, just like that, I unlocked the Platinum Trophy for Grandia 1. And I would say the game surprised me a lot more. I didn't expect it to be this good. Even if the story is very basic, it's fine, it's just a different kind of story, it's an adventure, not classic. We chase a big looming threat throughout the whole game. And it felt kinda refreshing. So I'm sure I will do Grandia 2 as well, so subscribe for that. I will see you all again.